Awesome. Yeah, so to jump in, I want to start with something that we talk a lot with our customers, with the prospects, and overall just, in the industry. Something that, of course, became important, and again, it's always was a very important. So I'm talking about something that called like productivity per full-time employees. So basically, meaning that how's your team is efficient, how is efficient is your team, of course, and whether or not all the employees really the productivity of every single employee is really produce like ROI, produce the ROI that cover not only expenses but of course increase the margin and just overall helping to grow your business. And that's something that we talk a lot about with many shops now, because again, so it's of course it's tough times, not only in manufacturing but overall, and people of course and businesses of course trying to be as efficient as possible and as nimble as possible, as lean as possible. And it's definitely the tools now that can help you to be really nimble, lean, and efficient. And I think that's important to talk about those tools. Of course, discuss like are those tools like really helping, and how to make those tools really work for your business. And that's one of the things that we will be talking about. And again, let me actually jump to the next slide. So what we're going to discuss today is a few important things. So of course, we'll talk about what the challenges are now for the machine shops. We will talk about the essential role of e-commerce. And again, I want to think about the e-commerce from the broad perspective. So it's not we're talking about not only just from the perspective of the order intake, just accepting the orders and things like that. We're talking about e-commerce as the concept that's a layer above of your business. And again, we're talking about machine shops, we're talking about 3D printing companies. And the way I want to look at that, it's not only as the machining business or the printing business, but also like sort of the online internet business as well. Because again, so like internet obviously and online became very significant, if not major, channel for many businesses, of course. And that's why one of the reasons why businesses needs to not only be online, but also like leverage all the tools that related to the online channels and makes business just grow by online channels. So that's one of the thing. Of course, talk about the strategies to how to leverage the production data that everyone have in a different shapes or forms. Sometimes just spreadsheets, sometimes more sophisticated systems and more sophisticated storages, or sometimes the systems like again ERP MS systems, and how to make it more efficient for your company. And just overall, of course, insights from the market, insights from you guys as well, our guests. So if you have anything to share, anything to ask, any questions, any concerns, anything that maybe you experienced when you tried some software, tried to implement the software, what's the barriers, what's the downsides, what's just obstacles that you face. So that's something that would be great to talk about too. So we obviously always open the floor for any questions, so please raise your hand and say like, I have a question. So happy to Alex.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's only 4 of us in here. Like, we can be as informal as we need to, not in an unprofessional way. But Rich and Melody, if you need to chime in at any point, or if you're seeing something different than what we're saying, we're definitely here to have a conversation today. So chime in as needed.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, so jumping into the first thing. So what's wrong? What's wrong with the shops, and how I think not the recipes to success, but at least some of the steps that I think not only appropriate but essential for AM shops now. So let's start with what is not good at all. So this is the one of the example that I just took just recently. So again, we're talking about the specifically additive manufacturing. We're talking about the prototypes, and we're talking about rapid prototyping. And rapid meaning fast, quick. And of course, when you stuck on the website with a just manual form. It makes the whole process opposite of rapid, like really opposite of rapid when it's really manual, when it just something that not good, at least in 2024, and something that just creates more barriers for the customers on the one side, of course, and also just more work for the employees on the other side, just to manage, this inquiry, this request from the customer. So it's definitely not good. And also, like at the other side of the still kind of e-commerce, so we're still seeing the shops that, even though they've been in the business 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and they stuck in like kind of the 90s, websites, which not, even though they very experienced, they definitely have capability, definitely have a machinery, they definitely have knowledge, they have everything, but the way how they represent themselves is really stuck in the past, and it's not something that very hard to change. It's really very easy to change, but this is something that definitely slow down everything, slow down business, and just not it's just not efficient at all for especially for the small companies where everyone wearing multiple hats, and just you want to make it as efficient and nimble and lean as possible. So that's not good at all. So talking about concept of the steps, or this I would say this puzzle on what exactly needs to be done to be as efficient as possible. So first of all, and I think it's very important, and again, I had a lot of the talks with the shops where founders of the shops or the owners of the shops saying, yeah, we actually focusing basically not on a particular audience, but we just printing for everyone. We're just printing for everyone who like step up on our door. So we're printing anything that basically people send us, and I don't think it's good. I really think you need to be really focused on the very specific niche. You also need to learn how to say no for some of the customers, some of the orders, and it's really, really important. And again, so this is the screenshot, and again, I have a lot of the screenshot from my LinkedIn, because again, I had a lot of discussions with the shops just recently, and again, so that's one of the example where in this specific example, Lars from ScanCut, so they intentionally focused on very, very niche market from the beginning, just to get this initial traction. And that's important. And again, even at some scale of the shop, you still need to maintain this focus on a niche, on specific niche, and really have super, super clear ideal of your ideal customer, because your ideal customers, meaning that you know everything about them, you can be efficient because again, you have the process that built around like your ideal customers, of course. And again, this is something that just help you to grow initially, and of course you can then scale to the different niches. But this, especially in the beginning, like ability to say no to some of the jobs, some of the customers that just out of your focus, out of your ideal customer framework is essential, is really, really important. So secondly, again, it's kind of with the connection to the previous point. So be crystal clear with your messaging. And the example of the website that I gave in the beginning, so it represents exactly the opposite thing. So it's not clear. Again, so most of your customers, they just don't care about the things about the mission of your company or something like that. They really care about, like, are you capable to do exactly what they want from you, right? And that's why it's extremely important, again, to be super clear about what your company do and what don't. So that's really essential. And again, this is another example from Lars from this ScanCat. In the beginning, he not only focused on the very niche customers, but also like he tried to narrow down the customers that exactly have, DXF files basically, right? So the files that can be produced, and that's important again because if you're starting to work with with a more broad audience, let's say customers that don't have ready to print files, so you're actually jumping into the another space, which is engineering or the designing the parts, and again it's really become almost a separate business because again you need to have a people, you need to have more employees who actually responsible for designing the parts and stuff like that. So in some of the cases it makes sense, of course. In some other cases, it's not efficient. It's just not efficient, and you need to be focused. You need to narrow down your customers, and you need to have this almost a strict framework in the beginning, almost a strict framework, or what exactly the orders you can take. So that's, I think, the important. I think we have a question, or let me see. Reach, you have a question, or weapon tabs, making can use. So Riverside just told me that Reach mic and cam already in use. I don't know what does it mean. So maybe it's all good. So Reach, if anything, if something, so just let us know. But yeah.
No, but I think it might be a good place to pause and say, Rich or Melody, I guess, do you guys find that your reach is too broad and you're struggling to narrow in on what you're trying to accomplish with your machine shop, or are you guys just getting up and running in the additive space? If you want to give us a little context, we can maybe speak to some of those challenges in particular and provide some useful information.
Hello. Yes.
Hi.
Maybe I can give you some context.
Sure.
So, our company is in the business for about 10 or 15 years in Switzerland. And I'm new to this business. I've been working here for like 3 months. And we've been adding DigiFabster not long ago, so I'm kind of learning how to use it. And actually, I kind of recognize our website from the 90s before. So we are now doing another overhaul of the website, and we were thinking of adding DigiFabster directly in the website. And yeah, I just wanted to have more, I don't know, insights of you and see how we can take advantage of all the data we can, have on the platform, and how to use it well, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. Good question.
And
So
yeah,
sorry.
just one more thing for the market, we are mainly focusing on the watch brand market. So watch manufacturing is our main industry, is our main market. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. So to start, we always recommend to start from very as simple as possible, basically, right? So in many cases, you can definitely leverage automation and specifically quoting in our case, even without the website, because first of all, because just our platform have the capability to have basically ready-made checkout interface, e-commerce interface, so we can just use the link. So for example, if you in communication with your customers or email, you can just send the link to the customers and say, okay, so here's the place, here's our online platform where you can place the order. So again, website is definitely necessary. It's not necessary in the very, very beginning if you just want to start with automating the quotes and just basically reduce the time spending on every single quote. So that's basically the very, very first thing that they can do. Secondly, from the website perspective, again, try to not overthink that, right? So even though maybe your old website is kind of stuck in the 90s, so there's many ready-made website builders, templates, and everything that you can start with. So just, and again, I will talk about that later in the slides, of course. But try to start as simple as possible. So basically, what you need to come up with just very clear messaging again. So who's your customers, and what exactly you do for your customers, and why you best, and why you actually better than any competitor. So just very, very simple. So without any missions, without any statements, without anything. So basically, just covering the things that your customers want to hear from you, right? So, and you can actually learn from the conversation with the customers. So you can just jump on the call with a few customers to learn why they actually work with your company, and why they prefer to, again, continue working with your company. And based on that, you can come up with a message, and that's the message can be the foundation for the website, actually. So that's, I think, the good idea. And again, so try to start as simple as possible, not overthink. So when you, again, especially when you leverage platforms like DigiFabster, we also designed the platform in the way when it's basically plug and play, right? So we need to just come up with the pricing, and we helping with the pricing, of course, and then basically add some shipping details and stuff like that, and add to your website. So it's extremely simple, and we're trying to be very, very simple for the reason, because again, we know that machine shops or 3D printing companies just don't have a time to to waste, of course, and just spend with the software. So we're trying to be also efficient and nimble as possible. So that's the best way to start. Again, not try to think, because again, so, and again, I think Alex also have experience with that. So when people start to think about the software, they immediately jump into the boots of okay, so let's think about the integration. So we have a multiple system we want to actually integrate with Salesforce, with QuickBooks and stuff like that. So please do not start with that. Always think about the very, very essential start, without any thinking about integration, thinking about branding. So it all can come later in a very early stage. Just think about the core thing. In our case, obviously, it's pricing, of course, and a few other things like pricing, like shipping and taxes. So think about that. Come up. We can help, of course, set up the algorithm, stuff like that, and just place on your website, and starting to actively promoting this to your existing customers, not even to the new customers, just saying that this is the most efficient way to place the order, and especially, of course, you can incentivize them with some discounts, or just rush shipping or something like that. It's up to you, of course. But again, try to have this extremely simple start in the beginning, because again, software can be overwhelming, can be very, very overwhelming. And when you think about implementing of something like that, just start as simple as possible. And again, I will, of course, talk about that a bit more. I don't know, Alex, if you have anything to add on that.
No, I think he's right. And Melody, I know you're only 3 months into the company right now, but in your instance, you're looking to update the website and give your customers a more seamless and smooth way to interact with you guys, and that's just the way the world works. And so there's 50 steps to do beyond that, but at the end of the day, your customer just wants to be able to hop on the website, get a simple quote for something, or maybe in your case, it's an internal quoting tool, whatever that ends up being. But this idea of just working off of Excel sheets or whiteboards, or like Const showed earlier, having to drag and drop into a manual entry order form, it just doesn't cut it anymore. So most of what we're working towards today and what we're talking about is geared towards convenience, which is why I think you're on the call. And so first and foremost, make sure the tool that you're looking at is going to be convenient and smooth for your customer. And if you've got that, then we'll begin to tackle the other steps. But I think Const nailed it.
Awesome. Cool. Let's move to the next. And again, please raise your hand if any questions, as always. obviously use social media, right? So this is something that in the beginning was a thing for B2C mainly. Now it's a definitely big time, big tool for B2B as well. Because again, like at the end of the day, everyone, every single of us, we dealing with just humans on the other side. And of course, the way how, with the way how humans now looking for the services, looking for the software, looking for everything is through something that they use on a daily basis. And yeah, like social media, that's one of the things that's basically not only your news feed, but just feed overall, and the way how you connect with your colleagues, with the market as well. So in the case of the manufacturing, I think in manufacturing we have pretty nice social environment, meaning that a lot of the people now leveraging that. And again, the main thing I believe in social media for manufacturing company is be as natural as possible, and again, be as a human, not trying to be a marketing person. Sorry, sorry for to any marketing persons, of course, but being a human, of course, and being and sharing something that you're working on currently. Ideally, make fun of it, of course, because again, obviously, we are as a humans. We even though when we looking for something specific, we also want to interact and engage with great humans and with people that making some fun even at work. So and again, so there's a number of different ways how you can promote your business in social media. The point is now social media obviously very overwhelming. You can see it in your news feed. A lot of the people, of course, posting something. So you have to find your own style. You have to find your own the way to present what you're doing for the customers. There's no like ready-made recipe. It's something that you need to needs to be developed, of course, through try and learn kind of the phase, kind of the stage. But yeah, so you definitely can subscribe for some of the people that very good in that, and yeah, learn from that. But again, social media in B2B is a big thing and something that can't be a solution in the short term, but in the long term, once you really hit some of the numbers, of course, from the followers perspective, from the engagement perspective, it's something that can be sales tool for sure, and sales tool from the in a good way, I should say, because again, so you definitely sharing some of your jobs, some of the work achievements, and just overall how your company work with the customers, how you caring about the jobs, how you caring about your customers, of course. So it's a really way to communicate. I don't like the word values of the company, but from some of the perspective, yes, values through the lens of the very fun and nice content, of course. So again, I highly recommend investing time into social media. Again, in the beginning, and by beginning I mean it could be a year, maybe more. It could feels as the not a waste of time, but like you didn't get enough attention. But eventually, of course, with the consistency, it's definitely something that worth to invest time and resources. So it's important for the businesses now to be in social media.
Can I ask a question on that front, Const?
Sure.
So for the companies that might be working on more sensitive projects, I think it's going to look a little bit different that you're not highlighting customer wins or something like that. So how would you tackle or go about thinking, all right, given the nature of my work, it's not as public facing, but that doesn't mean that I can't have a social media presence still. So does it look different in that context? And how would you go about thinking through some of those challenges?
I think you can make a fun of that actually, because again, so obviously, yeah, you might work on some project that you just can't, or customers, of course, that they can just share the names. You can share the results of that, but you definitely can make some fun of that, in social media, which people like, of course.
Sure.
not necessarily sharing the exact results of the job, maybe the processes or something like that, maybe something around that, maybe something probably relative to what you're doing. So I think it's definitely a way to share not exact results of that, because again, we also have customers, we signed NDA, we can't share pretty much anything, but we definitely can share something from the different angle, like, okay, so here's like similar customers that do the same stuff that we done for some of the customers that we can share the name of. So it's the ways, it's the ways. And of course you can also like thinking about sharing not exactly results of the of your work, of course, but the processes, or let's say your approach to the work on the projects, right? So for example, your processes in the factory, right? So how lean they are, how efficient they are, how clean is your factory, for example, right? Why not? It's a big point, of course. And how organized everything, how organized the order intake, how organized the factory itself, how organized the people in the factory, how organized the processes. So there's definitely ways not only just share the results of work, but the process itself. And then again, I think like people really like to see how the processes behind the scenes processes looks like actually. So there's definitely the ways to show that your company actually, I don't know, not necessarily better than others, but you're just showing some kitchen, right? So what exactly happening in your factory, or some of the spots, of course, and again, just highlights. It's definitely possible. So
Good.
Yeah. So again, the point is definitely leverage social media. So other point, of course, it's still related to the something that you can find on pretty much every single website of machine shop, 3D printing company, like RFQ or a price quote or request liquidation, something like that. So I would say in the last 10 years it changed. So a lot of the shops have this nice way to place the orders. Yes, of course, DigiFabster or some of the other companies that do instant quoting, but it's still, still we see, especially it is actually related to the larger businesses that been there for 10 years, 20 years, maybe have hundreds of employees. And what we're seeing is, it's still like, we will return your RFQ in 48 hours or something like that. And it's no way. It can be, or again, we will give you a call, right? Like in 48 hours. So, again, my point is, it's not only not efficient, it just creates a lot of loads on your employees from the one side. And of course, for some of the customers, it just no go. Basically, they can go to any online website and place the order online entirely without any interaction with the humans, with the people. So again, I believe that you need to make the customer journey as simple as possible without any barriers, from basically from your message to the placing the order. And it's just essential now. So not only because you're competing with some other not only online marketplaces, but with companies that do have online quoting and just overall more efficient processes. But again, just think about that from the customer perspective. And again, I have a slide with a actual customer quote on that, and why he preferred to actually interact with the companies that have online quoting. So it's just essential now. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. So this is the quote from the customer that kind of fed up with the websites with we will return your RFQ in 48 hours. He believed that machine shops and 3D printing companies must invest into the quoting platforms and just automation overall, just because, again, so from his perspective, as the customer perspective, it is so important because he also like limited on time. He just want to place the order. He just want to get some DFM feedback and be able to place the order, to track the order, to pay for the order online, and everything online. Because again, so we have a lot of obligations outside of work as well, and we always need to be mindful about the time and about the time of our customers as well. And that's one. And again, that's one of the side of the equation. And the other side of the equation, again, so having the automation, again, I'm not only talking about the quoting, I'm talking about, of course, about the quoting, I'm talking about the production planning, I'm talking about some other systems in place. All those systems really you need to think about that through the lens of efficiency of every single of your employees, and something that help you to avoid overstaffing. Because again, it's kind of easy to hire someone and again, easy is not always easy, but again, it's kind of easy to hire someone for a specific job. It's more complex to automate this process with a software or just with the multiple different softwares or the processes, but eventually it's worth it, because again, so we can avoid overstaffing. You can, and again, we're getting back to this my original point. So the productivity per full-time employee is much higher, and that's something that will help you not only to compete with basically larger companies that have like 250, let's say 250 employees, and specific revenue. So you can actually do the same thing with like 10x less employees, and it's definitely now it's possible with all the tools, with all the processes that can be implemented for your shop. Of course, it's definitely possible to be not only more nimble and lean, but just be more efficient. And again, it's all starting with a very small things. Like, again, we're talking about the quoting. I mean, kind of small, of course, but it's really important. But again, instead of having like 3 employees that taking a look at every single quote, responsible for multiple things, you can automate that, and you must automate that. Not only produce very nice experience for your customers, but also, again, it's something that help you to avoid overstaffing. It's extremely important. And again, Alex, I think you also have a point on that, but I think it's very important.
No, and even in regards to quoting, I think there's a fear sometimes out there for some shops, or a reluctance, I'll say, to move forward with software that automates some of these processes, because the reaction is, that's my job, I don't want to lose my job. And so, yes, there is automation, and yes, you can reduce overhead or employee count on some level, but this is also a tool that can support those quoters, and it's not to get rid of their job, but it's to make their life a lot easier. And so rather than having to manually go through an input of 50 to 100 orders a day and manually quote those, and then there's 3 weeks behind all of a sudden, and the customer is pissed off because they didn't get a quote, you can have a tool that instantly quotes something like this, and then if need be, they can go through and give a final cursory check and adjust as needed. So on the one hand, yes, we're automating, we're reducing the amount of people actually required to run a successful shop. But on the other hand, we're giving the existing team members tools to make their life a lot more comfortable. You're going to make your worker happier, who's going to make your customer happier. So don't be afraid of implementing tools like these. And if you have internal pushback from people saying, I don't want to lose my job, explain to them or give them access to these tools to show them how it's going to make their life easier. So yeah, I don't know if you see that Const pushback as well, but there's definitely some fear on our side of things where we see that's why people are reluctant to move forward with a software solution, is that it's threatening almost.
Yeah, sometimes we hear that, but again, I think everyone needs to look at that through the lens of, this is basically software like that is basically your co-pilot. It's something that really help you to be more efficient. I mean, on the kind of the human level, so a lot of us like leveraging, for example, ChatGPT, right? It's not threatening for us to leverage something that just makes our life easier. Just if you need to come up with something, or actually get some information faster, or find a solution faster, it just make you more efficient. So I think the same way businesses need to look at the software and automation, of course, and of course translate this to the actual employees, to your staff, of course, that again, this is the tool not to replace you, but just to make your life easier, more efficient, and just be your copilot. Think about that as your copilot, right? So again, I think this is something that will be more obvious in the near future, maybe in the very near future, I guess. But again, all those tools is not to entirely replace someone, of course, because again, some of the point that you mentioned, you don't want your employees to be bored with some boring stuff, some boring tasks. And again, coding can be extremely boring, actually. So that's one of the important point, that again, you just want to your employees to be happy as well, and really work on the stuff that excites them, and less boring. Basically, it's not always like that, of course, but again, at least you can reduce some boring tasks with automation. So that's I think how you need to look at that. Now, before I move to the next slide, any questions, folks? Rich, Melody, Janet, Peter? Okay. If not, and by the way, you can also use chat. I just realized we have a chat, so please do use chat as well. So I love from your side.
Hiya.
Yeah. Hi.
I've got a quick. Sorry, I was spending like 5 minutes trying to work out how to unmute myself, then saw the microphone button at the bottom, so shows my level of expertise. Yeah, so I've got a question on that. So we use your system on the 3D print side of things, but it works really well when you're doing like individual pieces, but there's a challenge when you're then trying to combine stuff, and try and get a kind of idea of a nested price. So often we have, with our powder bed systems, very common. Have you found, or are you working on a solution that helps with improving the viability of the nested price compared to the single part price?
Good question, and I guess we hear this question many times, of course. There's a few ways. I mean, first of all, there's no solution to basically look at the future, like, okay, so how many parts you will receive in the next 7 days, and can you, and whether or not you can nest them in the most efficient way on the bed or something like that.
No, I mean more when you've got a suite of parts from one customer.
Oh,
okay. So you've got you've got all the knowns.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah. you get it from one customer. Okay, yeah. So there's definitely way in the pricing. So basically, you can embed some of the let's call it nesting component into the pricing. So basically, you can, of course, with some math formulas that embedded into the pricing, you can basically produce the pricing in a more efficient way, and just taking into account the nesting and the complexity of the part, not complexity of the parts, it's not in CNC, but basically nesting and how parts nested on the bed. So it's possible with the pricing, of course. So that's the one way, of course. The other way would be, of course, get some feedback from the third-party software that do proper nesting. Because again, so there's the two ways. The one way is to do proper nesting in softwares like Magix, for example, right? So that's the one way. And again, this is the way that we are not leveraging at all as of now, for the reason that we're talking about e-commerce, we're talking about checking out customers basically online, meaning that it is all about conversion online. So you of course want to be as accurate as possible from the pricing perspective, but you don't necessarily want software to do some nesting in the background while customer waiting for this process. So we don't want to avoid that. So one of the solutions, again, for, let's say, the orders that have, like, I don't know, maybe thousands of the parts that needs to be nested, hold it to for review, for example, right? So it's not necessary. And again, you can do it with some specific triggers. For example, if it's like more than thousands of the parts of specific size, let's say, you can hold it for review, for example, so customers will not see immediate price, but he can still place the request for the order. So then you can review it, of course, do the nesting and provide it with the price. And again, it can be done like within an hour or something like that. That's one of the way. Or again, just basically leverage our pricing that do some analysis, of course, on the parts. It's not do proper nesting as the Magic software, for example, but again, it do some analysis in the projection and making sure that you still keep your margin level at the level that you want. So there's a few approach. We recommend to start with just pricing approach, meaning that if you need to embed this nesting component into the pricing, so we can help with that. So basically, that's what our application engineers do. If it's not kind of enough, not accuracy in that point, but if it's not enough for you, of course, again, you can just set the trigger, the threshold, basically. If it's more than thousands of the parts that uploaded by the customers, hold it for review, and then you can analyze it in the background manually and send back the quote within an hour or something like that. So it's the two approaches, but again, happy to help you to work on one or another. So.
Rich, is the current workflow, you're getting it quoted on DigiFabster at the individual part level, that's fine, and then you open it up in whatever your nesting software is, but like you said, it's not optimized, so you're having to spend an extra hour going through and adjusting prices? What is that workflow if the nesting pricing isn't there for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of the challenge is working out what the best thing to do is for the customers, and there's a couple of different challenges that we see with that, where we can, we get clients that may have, say, 50 different components, and you can throw them into the system, and you'll get a price that's high.
Sure.
Because it doesn't do the nesting, and I get that it doesn't do the nesting. It's not a nesting piece of software, but you've then got. Then we'll throw them into Magics, so we nest in Magics because it's good. So we'll throw them into Magics, work out what the price for that would be, and then it's a question of how do we translate that information for the customer? Do we apply a bulk discount? Do we go through and effectively give a line item discount? How do we translate that? Whereas because what can happen then is, I'm kind of like throwing all of our issues in one thing here. So if you come to me and ask, I've got 50 different parts and I want 3 off each part, I then work out a price for the nested. Well, we can build it all as one nest. So each part works out at whatever. And I give you a price per part for 3 off of each nested. And then you come back and say, actually, I only want 2 of that one part. And you've quoted me that cost and I want that cost now. And obviously you then can't do it at that cost because that's no longer a viable cost. Because they only want 2
Sure.
of a single. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of different things that kind of come into it. But yeah, realistically, what we do is we quote it, we put it into the system, then we'd nest it and see what the total value comes out at, and then have to make a judgment call on it. It's just a bit kind of truncated, and it's not a smooth process.
Yeah, this certainly isn't intended to be a Magic's technical demo or anything, but I will say I think there's some pricing features on the back end of Magic's, and then later in this presentation when we get into integration, I think there's a way for some of what you're having to manually price out right now, you can put into Magic's and train it and teach it, and so it will get better over time, and so eventually you will not have to be doing that. It will get better at recognizing geometries and pricing those out after the nest, and then syncing that data into a backend system. So it may not be through DigiFabster, it may not strictly be through Magic's, but I think there's some workflows there that could certainly make your life easier. And I'm happy to connect offline if that can help.
Yeah, that'd be good to understand.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Rich. Thanks for your question. Couple more things. Again, something that help your customers to make decision faster, basically, right? So have a plenty of the support materials on the website. Always, always, always great idea. Talking about the documentation, talking about design guidelines, DFM guidelines, everything that will help your customer to came kind of prepared, right? So and place the order with as much knowledge as they can leverage, of course, based on how you operate, how you what processes you support, what printing materials you have, and things like that. So it's very important to have, and again, it's a lot of work. It's always tons of work to have this on your website, the resources, but it's always worth, because again, meaning that you do this work upfront, it means that it's something that you help your staff to have less load on their shoulders. Because again, so if you don't have this information, in most of the cases, customers will go straight to your customer support, to your engineers, starting asking the same questions that they can find answers on the website. So that's important, to invest resources into the nice documentation guidelines on the website. And important point that many shops, I guess, maybe not necessarily realizing, but maybe not prioritizing, I guess, is that you need to think about your shop as a business mission first, right? Again, it's a business, and the business means you need to think and create processes, automate tasks, and again, stay nimble and lean. This is, I think, extremely important, because again, it's definitely beyond the machines, maintenance of the machines, and just machinery itself and printing itself. It's really about the business and the processes, and ability to set the processes, automate the task, really can elevate not the efficiency, but also like your business. And of course, that's some of the things that you would love to share with your customers, because again, customers want to work with the businesses that, you know, have structure, have the procedures, have the certain steps that already designed, again, around the customers, around the order intake, around the production, and things like that. So you definitely need to think about that. Think about your shop as a business machine first. And yeah, so that's not always something that come to the mind at first, but again, I really hope that people will start thinking about that before they purchase the first machine. So I think that's important. I don't know, Alex, if you have anything on that to say.
No, I think, and I certainly don't want to cut you off. I know you got a few more slides, but when you're in the vein of thinking about what machines to purchase, it might be a good transition. I know we're coming up on the hour here to kind of get into the production planning side of things, if you wouldn't mind us transitioning into that conversation.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it for sure. So it's okay. Longer than I
No, that's okay. It's all excellent questions, and I think the majority of the people on here were more interested in quoting and customer facing solutions, which definitely falls on your side of the fence. But I'm happy to hit on, after I've got the order, what does my life look like now type conversation. So
yeah, please do. Can you share the screen on your side?
I can share my screen. Share. All right. Is everyone seeing this? Dwight, excellent. So yeah, a lot of the conversation so far has been geared around towards how do I give the customer a smooth experience from a quoting perspective or on my website, so I'm not calling them every 5 minutes every time they upload a quote, or how do I make that quoting a little bit more efficient, Rich, like you're asking with some of those nesting procedures. But after you've got the job in your hands, how do I manage that workflow now? And so if you find yourself fortunate enough to be having joined this call today because you're expanding your 3D printing capabilities or your CNC capabilities and you're growing as a shop, or maybe you have done a lot of patchwork problem solving and you've been growing and you're just kind of adding and grabbing at machines as needed, and there's not a whole lot of forethought. And I'll pause real quick. A lot of the conversation or my presentation will gear specifically around 3D printing, but it is applicable to a much broader range of manufacturing technologies. But the thought is, where do I go from here if I'm having to add more systems to support these orders on the back end, whether that be for any powder-based technologies rich like you were doing with nesting, or if you're going into metal 3D printing with an SLM machine, or whatever that might look like. And so I think most people here will probably have run into the issue of, I bought this machine and it came with a specific piece of software, and I have to use that specific piece of software to run my build, whether that be on the CNC side of things, sheet metal, or what I see in a day-to-day 3D printing. And so what you end up with is 5 different brands of OEMs and 5 different pieces of software, and your day becomes a lot more bogged down with admin tasks. And so the goal on the back end is, all right, I gave somebody an instant quote, but now I'm still managing my time off of whiteboards and Excel sheets on the back end. How do I prevent that from happening? So the first thing you should be looking at as you're expanding brands is something that plays nice with other systems. And that's not even on the OEM side of things either. So the OEM conversation and what I sell, Magix, which is a build preparation software for 3D printing, is just, how do I prepare the build? I got 16 different orders. I need to pull 5 of those parts from 11 different orders and put them on one build plate. So how do I track things at the build level, the individual part level, and the order level? And then beyond that, it's not even just build preparation software. You have ERP systems, you have CRMs, you have PLMs. I made this joke the other day with Const, but insert any 3-letter acronym you're working with right now, and you get really bogged down all of a sudden of, well, crap, I have 20 different pieces of software to manage my day. Where do I go from here? And so I think first and foremost, you need to start looking for solutions that can streamline some of those things and consolidate them to the best of your ability. And so on the build preparation side of things, that's a tool like Magix. And even if it's not, just find something that will allow you to slice or run your jobs from a centralized screen. It doesn't make any sense that you would invest all this time and opportunity on the quoting side of things for the customer or for internally, only to have to go back to doing very manual, drawn out processes on the back end. And so at that point, it's, all right, I'm looking for a solution that is, more streamlined. Can I build my own? I know nobody wants to go spend another X amount of dollars on software after they've just spent $250,000 on machines or whatever it might be. And so they usually fall into this conversation of, can I just build something that's going to be sufficient for my needs? And really, that conversation comes down to, at least on the additive side of things, and Const, you might be able to speak more to it on the traditional manufacturing side of things, is your IT team, more often than not, isn't going to have the core competencies for that specific type of manufacturing. So with additive, there's a lot of sensory data that's pulled off of the machine for material management or for analyzing each layer that your IT team's not going to know. So maybe they can build a SharePoint site where files and orders can live, but it's still not going to be streamlining and having the traceability at the additive level that you're looking for. And even beyond that, even if they were competent and knew everything about additive manufacturing, Materialise in particular has the last 30 years been managing relationships with all of the OEMs. And so those OEMs have given us access to their machines, whether that be through APIs or another means, to display that data in one system. So that's the next hurdle that you're running into is, I want to work with these other companies if I'm building my own thing, but they have lockdown systems. And so it's not that you're unwilling to go to a more streamlined operation. It's that you're prevented from doing so because you don't have those relationships. So if you're thinking about building versus buying, I don't care if it's me or somebody else, just find somebody who has those relationships and is able to give you an infrastructure on the back end where those systems can actually talk to each other. Const, I don't know if you would agree or disagree on that end.
Yeah, in our experience, we definitely have experience with some companies that have not only knowledges, but willpower to really build the systems from scratch on their own. It's extremely, extremely rare, and something that we found as sort of the best case scenario where is the owner that actually want to automate all the processes. He actually open to leverage some pieces of software from from other suppliers through API or whatever, but he actually hire development team, maybe contractors, maybe a couple full-time, but mostly contractors, of course, and manage the whole process, meaning that he know the process from 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 just bottom to the top, absolutely how it works. He definitely have knowledge in the software, in the machining, in the manufacturing process, in everything, and he tried to set certain limits timeline from the timeline perspective. Like we have 2 months, for example, we contract those developers for the 2 months, and within 2 months we need to build this vision, this framework. Again, it's extremely intense. It's extremely rare thing when someone can actually build something from scratch. It exists, and those companies, and again, as I mentioned in the beginning, those companies are the most efficient, most nimble, most lean. So basically, with a very small team, they can achieve a lot. Again, it's really rare, and it requires just extreme dedication and knowledge in everything, not only in manufacturing and process, but also in the software, which is rare. So,
agreed. And I know we're coming up on time here, so I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll allow Melody some time for questions if you've got any. But again, if you're new into this role, you're trying to find a way for your customers or your internal employees to have a smoother interaction on the website by submitting orders, and then on the back end, you need to find a way for those orders to get produced in a timely and efficient fashion. So the instant quoting through a process or a tool like DigiFabster is really beneficial there because it can tie into the website. And as we just spoke about, you don't have to develop anything that is just going to take a lot of time and effort and cost you a lot more money in the long run. But on the back end, finding systems that play well with the majority of the OEMs so that you're not spread out between 15 different pieces of software. Try to find something that's agile and agnostic and to the best of your ability can allow you to do your day-to-day out of one screen. And then traceability, just knowing where your parts are at so you don't have some guy named Todd in the back end who is used to the 50 different systems and Todd's the only one that knows where everything's at. And if Todd's sick, then you're screwed all of a sudden. But a system that's going to be easy for a new trainee or a person who needs to step up and help out for a day is going to be able to very easily look, see what happened with the parts and the orders, see where everything's at, and be completely up to date within 5 minutes. And so that's why we steer away from whiteboards and people like Todd and 15 different systems, is because you're not going to be able to grow long-term successfully, which I hope is the point of your business, is to expand and go beyond your current capabilities without something that is agile, like software. Again, it doesn't have to be Const tool or my tool. It's just if you want to grow and you want your business to be successful, make it a smooth customer-facing process for instant quoting, and then make your tech's life easier on the back end by having something that is going to allow them to get parts out the door quickly.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, I think it's a great point that you need to allow yourself to rely on the software more, maybe a little bit less on the people, because again, we're the humans, we have different things in life that can happen. So if you have everything or most of the things in software that can be replicated, that can be automated, and that can be also used by some other people from your team, that's ideal. That's how you're making that's how you're creating not just a shop but actually a business machine, right? So that's, I think, very important to invest some time, resources, and just so
awesome.
Cool.
Melody, I think you're the last one standing. Janet and Peter are on my team. So any questions before we hop off here, or anything you might comments?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Really, I wanted to thank you for all the insights. I mean, it's a bit more clear now. And I know there's like a chat box I can ask some question if I have any other question, maybe tomorrow or the day after, maybe when I have time to read again my notes and everything. and talk with my manager so we can put in place some of what we talked today. So yeah, and I think this kind of webinar or workshop are really cool to get more insights of DigiFabster, which can be a bit like not. It can be a bit overwhelming, as you said before, try to understand all of the software. But I think if we learn step by step, it will be easier in the end. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
You're
thank you
welcome.
so much. I think we will be doing more things like that. Again, simplifying software that can be looked maybe overwhelmed in the beginning by those webinars. Let's do it workshop maybe next time. But yeah, please reach out to us an online chat for sure. There's some humans behind that, so not AI chatbots. So
Yeah. Okay. So
cool, good.
All right. Well, I think we can hop off here, but Melody, thank you for your time. And yeah, if you have any questions for Const or me or anything else, definitely reach out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice
See
day.
ya.
See you all. You too. Bye bye.